example, yesterday it seemed very Secretary of State John Kerry when he saw the interview we did at Fox and saw Assad claim he didn't have chemical weapons, and if he did have, he had chemical weapons, but he didn't shoot him at the rebels. Listen.
Used, sarin killed. The world can decide whether it was used by the regime which has used chemical weapons before, the regime which had the rockets and the weapons, or whether the opposition secretly went unnoticed into territory they don't control to fire rockets they don't have, containing sarin that they don't possess, to kill their own people. Please. This isn't complicated. When we said we know what is true, we meant it.
Please. Laura?
Are you still playing clips from Saturday Night Live? Or
no, that's real.
That's really him.
Oh, my God. That's, well, look, I think...
Well, that's nasty.
What's sad about this is that this is actually a really important issue.
Yeah.
Geopolitically, it's important for our country. But yet, when you see Kerry, he looks so desperate. I mean, he's like, please see this. Please understand this. America doesn't plead with the world, okay? America leads the world. And right now we see America sadly in decline. We see ourselves in decline economically, as a matter of foreign policy. And that performance, while I understand what the sentiment was, didn't help.
But we are the best of the worst economically.
I totally disagree with that assessment.
Well, then this is going to be a good segment.
No, I think that John Kerry was really, in many ways, the old prosecutor. He laid out the case against Syria in a very clear way. Let me finish. He laid it out in a very clear way. He said that there was unequivocal evidence that it was the Assad regime. What I lament is he didn't then go on to the next and much more important point, that the week is rapidly tolling, and where is the inventory? The inventory of the poison gas that was promised at week's end. Now, what I suggest is if by the end of the General Assembly next week, the inventory has not yet been produced, then the United States has to launch a punitive strike, not militarily. Here's what I would do. Declare Bashar al-Assad a war criminal, his entire family. Say if they set foot outside of Syria, they will be arrested, they will be indicted, they will be dragged to the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Not threatened so much with our military force, but let's do something if he doesn't do what he agreed.
None of this is ever going to happen. First of all, the idea that John Kerry, standing up there, convinced a single person. He didn't convince Russia. He didn't convince China. They will veto anything we attempt to do in the UN Security Council.
Did you see the evidence? No, the evidence was very graphic. You don't have to convince me.
We know he's right.
The problem is once they did the red line, I didn't say a red line. Oh, Sergei, you take it over for us. I mean, you know, we go from Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, to Mr. Putin, whatever you think is best. Now we're in this situation because of the mishandling of this incredibly important matter in Syria by this administration.
And mishandling in what regard? Are you suggesting that we should have bombed them earlier?
No. I think if Barack Obama really believed this was in the national security interest of this country, he could unilaterally act. He actually didn't need to go to Congress. If he believed it was in the national security interest of this country.
If he had hit Bashar al-Assad immediately after the discovery of the gas attack, I agree, and I advocated that. Once we let the hot blood cool, though, then it was incumbent on us to try to bring in the rest of the world. Why? Because this is a crime against humanity, not specifically a crime against the United States.
No one is with military action in Syria by the United States.
Well, I did not suggest it, did I? I suggested we arrest these people.
I want to give you a flashback to 5 people arguing on the couch.
It's happening right now. Pause. I need my cupcake for comfort. Let's go over to Benghazi right now, because we're supposed to be convinced by Kerry, yesterday, in one realm, but yet how can we, based on everything that's happened before? So Benghazi yesterday, top leaders grilled, okay? We had them been asked questions, no answers still. We actually had Democrats walk out before the victim's mom and dad spoke. What are your feelings on that?
That was one of the more disgraceful things that I've seen, and there's been a lot of disgraceful things when it comes to Benghazi. But when you actually have 2 parents of men who sacrificed for this country and died in a horrific fashion, and they don't have the decency to sit and listen to what they have to say, if a Republican had done anything similar to that, they would be destroyed all over our friends in the other cable channels and by the elite media in New York and Washington.
I cannot
That
disagree.
in and of itself was appalling and tells you a lot about their priorities.
I cannot disagree. You cannot walk out on the mother or the grieving parents of fallen service member or person serving the United States of America. I think our greater frustration, though, is that is where the punitive strike should have landed. It should have landed on the militia in Benghazi who perpetrated the attack on our people.
We know where they are.
Last September. It could have happened. Why haven't they been arrested? Why haven't they been killed? Why hasn't that militia camp been hit?
Right.
Why were those destroyers off the coast of Syria? They should have been off the coast of Libya.
Plus, the other thing we learned yesterday was that Admiral Mullen, who's always had sterling credentials, it looks like to many on Capitol Hill on the Republican side, he was in on it. You know, he's part of the Accountability Review Board. And yet what he did was, when some testimony was going to be damaging to the State Department, gives Hillary Clinton a heads up.
Right.
Says this Charlotte Lamb stuff's going to be bad for you.
I think that's very unfair to Admiral Mullen, who served this country so patriotically. He was commander of NATO.
But as Congressman Micah said, it looked like an inside job.
Or is he falling on the sword? I mean, what do you think here?
The State Department investigating the State Department.
I believe if it weren't for the frustration that we haven't gotten the people responsible, that's why we're lashing out at our own people. The fact that we haven't, the murderers, why don't we keep the focus on the murderers?
If it's going to be independent, though, why would the State Department pick people to investigate the State Department?
An Accountability Review Board report, which was good. I mean, Pickering, well-respected, who headed it up. The fact that they didn't think they needed to interview Hillary Clinton for this comprehensive report, which we needed. We needed to understand the TikTok, who was responsible, who made the ultimate call, why didn't we have forces there, why did we call back forces? We need to understand that. When we couldn't interview Hillary, why do you think we couldn't interview Hillary?
Because she's going to run for president.
Right.
I mean,
but nothing on paper. Again, that paper trail for
Hillary.
And
then, what does it matter? All that. I mean, it does matter. It matters to those family members, the father and the mother, who the Democrats didn't give the courtesy of hearing yesterday. It matters to them a lot.
Hillary should have been interviewed. She's the Secretary of State. There's no doubt about it.
You know what bothers people most is just that I don't care what happened, but the fact that we don't know what happened and the fact that there was so much deception early and people just continue to backtrack and the timeline does not, for the investigative reporters like Adam Hasley and you talk to Jennifer Griffin, the timelines don't add up between explanations, and when you get ridiculed for bringing up that as a problem.
Oh, it's over.
The reason we are ridiculed, Brian, and it happened right on this couch, I saw it with my own eyes, we were saying with great certainty that the United States military could have intervened to save those lives once the attack started. That was not true.
Are you going to tell me we can't get there in 9 hours?
It was not true. Look at what happened with Syria. The reason we didn't strike Syria, as Laura and I both agree we should have immediately after the discovery of the poison gas, is that the United States military is not a SWAT team. They're not a fire department. They're not standing ready to act and to swing into action.
You're glossing over the video and the justification and trotting
I am not at all. I'm speaking as the only person in this building who's actually been in combat in Benghazi, Libya, and with these militia. I speak with some authority, and I'm telling you, we could not have stopped the attack.
Donald Rumsfeld,
and to say that we could have is one of the reasons the parents are so upset, because
people don't even know why we were there.
Bad information helped convince those parents that America did not do everything.
Listen, hold on. It's not true. Donald Rumsfeld said we had a military base closer in Italy to act.
I know every base we had.
Time out. There's so much frustration on both sides, and this makes it fair and balanced, and we appreciate it. This is why these guys both do fantastic radio shows. Geraldo's going to have his on kicking off at 10 a.m. Eastern,
9 a.m.
and yours is.
And you're going to be on my radio show too.
And we're so happy that Elizabeth is here.
And we are, Elizabeth.
And
I apologize for bringing any acrimony into your first Friday.
Right.
She lived for acrimony.
That's right.
I love the great
It's better than Joy Behar.
Right.